Thanks for joining us on the Talking Leadership TV podcast series. Our guest today is Issabele Popescu. Today's podcast was focused on developing leaders and entrepreneurs. Issabele migrated to Australia some 16 years ago with her family. She started to study an accounting qualification, started a cleaning business and door-to-door selling, but decided to follow her passions and started to study hairdressing, beauty and massage therapy, as well as barbering. She worked in a salon one day a week, but that drove her to be her own boss, and in doing so she started her own hair and beauty salon in a relatively short space of time. But in a 2-year period she lost $50,000. Issabele visited Romania to be with her father, who was unwell, and after his passing it was her wake-up call to do something different with her life. She started a personal development and coaching business, which in the first year netted her a 6-figure outcome. She decided to study with a focus on the question, what makes some people more successful than others in their businesses, their relationships and their lives. She became a neuro-linguistic programmer, a hypnosis trainer, master coach and timeline therapy practitioner. This was a really interesting conversation with Issabele. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But as always, enough from me. I will hand over to today's guest, Issabele Popescu. Good morning, Issabele. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today, mate.
Good morning, Eric, Dr. Eric. I'm so happy that you invited me today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Eric is fine, Issabele. Thank you. Look, we talked a little offline around what we were going to discuss today, and we're going to be looking at the topic of developing leaders and entrepreneurs. So from a starting point, the one-on-one on this is, why do you think it's important to develop our leaders and entrepreneurs, just in broad terms?
When you start a business, when people start when I started the business, I started with, I was before a entrepreneur. Yeah, I had something, I had a dream, I had a passion, and I wanted to become an entrepreneur. But this is not enough, because I started my business, and I started my business, and it was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Doesn't matter. I know, I don't know. I'm going to do it anyway. And the intention is to help people. Everyone, when they start the business, their intention is to help someone. And of course, not being a charitable company, you want to make money as well. The thing is that if you don't know how to lead your team, if you don't know how to lead in a business, the customers are not going to come. So it's not enough that you have the will, that you have the passion, that you have the whatever to start the business. If you are not a leader, no one is going to be around you.
Yeah, that's an interesting response. I guess there's a two-parter there for me. You talk about the why you want to become an entrepreneur and a leader, and to make sure that those skill sets are there to go forward. So I guess the next question in my mind would be, let's look at this from the leader perspective. What are those things that leaders need that you see are still challenges for them to get their head across? So recently I spoke to someone who said being a good communicator was one issue for them. So from your experience, what's the key challenge facing a leader versus an entrepreneur in the current business environment that you've seen?
So I think there are a few levels of leadership, and everyone starts with level one. With level one, that is, I have the position. Then if I have the position, I have the title, everyone is going to come to me. Yes, everyone is going to recognize me. And it's not like that. Because people are not going to like you or follow you because you are just the leader, whatever is going to be that leader. Then it's the level two. When people like you, your team like you, or your customers like you as a leader, because you build some, they come because they like you. You build some relationship, some rapport. You are good at this thing, but still it's not enough. Then it's the following level. So this is how I see myself. This is were the things that I went through along my business and as a leader in my business. I started with just because I am a leader, everyone should come to me and everyone should do business with me, and it wasn't like that. Then I started the next one to build a relationship, and people started to like me because um, I was able to communicate and to create rapport and build that relationship. But then is the delivering the results, because nothing is going to happen if you just like each other, if you trust each other and do nothing. So yes, delivering the results is the next one.
Do you think you had, at the time of starting the businesses that you started, do you think you had the leadership chops to do what you needed to do versus being the entrepreneur in that situation? Because a lot of conversations I've had previous to this conversation with entrepreneurs in particular is they've been very clear that they were never really good at the organizing and leading at the operational level, but they had the ideas and sort of led the business in that sense. So they knew what they didn't know and they brought in the skill sets that they needed. And some have said to me they could do both, but it was just a tension of how much time do you put into the business versus how much time do you put growing the business and being slightly apart from it and letting someone else run with it. So from your experience, did you have that tension, or was it always the intention for you to be a bit of both?
It was always they were both, to be the leader and to be entrepreneur. I couldn't separate them. So I don't think that you can separate them.
Yeah, sure, and that's an interesting argument. Some would argue that they're completely distinct. I don't know which camp I fall into actually, because I would not be so arrogant to think that I had for myself the answer. If for you it worked to be both, more power to you for being able to do that. But I think there are some of the humans amongst us that realize that they're not good at something, and so they'll buy that skill set in. If you went in with the mindset that you could do both, again, that's a skill set that not a lot of people have. I guess my question would be, as your businesses have grown, have you had to let go of some of the operational side and let someone else come in and help you, or have you maintained that connection to the business at all levels?
Back in the days, um, I worked as an accountant, and I managed the accounting department in a governmental institution. So I saw that I have all the skills because along the years you built it. So the leadership, you are not born with the leadership. No one is going to give you, hey, Eric, welcome in this world. Here is your bag with the leadership knowledge. This is something that everyone builds if they want. And I think it's not like you are good at this or good at that. What do you want to be good at? Because everything can be, we are born blank and we built along the way whatever we need. So in my opinion, I consider that whoever says that I'm not good at that, I'm going to do this, maybe they don't want to put enough effort. And they choose just one side. I was always taught, I was raised that it's very important to learn more than one thing, to be good at more than one thing, because you never know when you are going to need it. So since I was a child, I was good at a lot of things. This is how I was raised, and this is how are my brothers, my sisters. We were raised like that. Our father taught us this. So as I said, I was managing the accounting department, and I thought that if I have that knowledge, if I've done that, I'm going to be great in my business as a leader in a different country. I didn't take in consideration that it's a different country, different environment, different everything. So I struggled. I struggled because it's quite a difference between having your own business and being the leader for someone else.
Yeah, okay. And that's that discussion piece around you being the entrepreneur and owning the business versus then having to run the business. So as time has gone on and your business has matured, do you still see your role as being able to master everything you need to master to run the thing, or have you outsourced some of the delivery of what you need to do in the business to somebody else? Is it have you let go in that sense? And why I ask this is that another topic that gets brought up quite a lot is to what degree can the entrepreneur let go of the baby, the business, and let somebody else run it for them so they can do something else? Are you at that point, are you happy to stay in the business that you've built and just keep growing that particular business? Like, I don't know where you are in that cycle, so it's just of interest to me where you think things are at.
So I did outsource some of them, some of the things, but I still want to be there. It's still my business, kind of, and I still want to be part of it, not just to um, supervise from the outside. I really love what I do. Maybe this is one of the reasons that I still want to be very, very, very much into the business. I love what I do. It's like for me coming to work is it's like a holiday. So I like what I do, and it's like, would you know when you like too much something, would you say, hey, I don't want that anymore?
Sure, that's an interesting point. The passion for what it is that you do, and it's again, you're lucky that you found something that you're that passionate about. But obviously there's other schools of thought that um, the passion project is one thing, but doing other things and building your career in other ways is also another trait of the entrepreneur. And it sounds in your case, and again, more power to you for doing something that you love to do that you don't potentially consider as work, but it's a calling of sorts. Is at some point have you had the discussion in your own mind, or at least with others, around what else can you do with this business? Can you grow? Like, is that conversations that you've been having, or are you happy to stay at the size that you're at? Like, this territory is fairly new for me in that I've never asked a previous guest, well, have you thought about growth? Is it maintaining what you've got? Like, where do you think you're at?
So yes, I was thinking about growth. In the last few months, I was thinking about this, about growing it, and I already started to do the plan how to do it. I will need to outsource more than I've done up to this moment, and I'm going to do that at the right moment, not now. So yes, I would like to grow, and this is what is the next step in my business.
It's a good place to be. By the sound of it, you look exceedingly happy that you've gotten there. So to round back up into the discussion around developing the leader. So when you had that thought, okay, I'm going to grow the business, did you give any thought to what other skill sets you need to learn or what other things you need to improve to get there? Or is it if you didn't have those skill sets or didn't want to extend yourself in that way, that yeah, you finally made a decision to bring in some talent that can do that bit of the work for you, which takes a bit of stress off you? Like, what did that conversation look like?
I believe so that with the knowledge that I have, so I have everything that I need to do this, to outsource, to bring new talents. I have that. I know how to do it, and I have to decide when I'm going to do this. It's just a matter of decision. And I know that taking a decision is just 1 second. But I postponed that second more to be ready to, because it's like, when you think that you have kids, yes?
Yes.
You have kids.
Yeah.
So you saw your child when it was a few minutes. Yes, you saw it when it was born and you started to that love in that moment. Yes, and then you saw your child growing and growing and growing and growing till, they become adults. They become teenagers, and you still want to keep them near you. And they are older, and you still want to have them near you. And even if when you let them go, you still are there for them. You are still the leader, they still come to you. So it's the same thing in a business. When you build a business, the business is your baby. So my business is my baby. And it started, of course, it's like any baby, there are not all the time nice things that happen. And you face different things, but still it's my baby. So even if I'm going to outsource things and I'm going to bring a lot of other people here, I'm still going to be the leader. It's still my business till the moment when I decide to sell it and it's not going to be mine. I'm still going to be a very important part of my business.
Yeah, it does sound like that connection is incredibly important to you. So let me take your mind back, if I can, Isabel, to COVID. Now, I don't want to talk about all the ins and outs of COVID because that's been done to death, but let's look at this more in a post-COVID world, and you being in that world from a business sense. What did you learn as a leader post COVID? What was the thing that you took away, or things that you took away from that process from a leader point of view?
You wouldn't believe during the COVID, I ended up in the hospital. I was so stressed that having a physical business, and not being able to do it, it's like everything it's gone. And I was so stressed, and I was so uh, I was saying to myself, I don't want to feel anything. I don't want this, like, I want everything to disappear. So I kept saying these kind of things in my mind because I was so stressed that one morning I woke up and I couldn't walk. And yes, I couldn't walk. My husband and my son would help me to move around. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I would vomit. And so I ended up in the hospital. Everyone thought that it's this, that. I've done plenty of tests and they discover nothing. I realized one night that it's my mind. It's my mind that kept saying to myself, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want everything to disappear. Because in those days, everything disappeared. I didn't care about the business, I didn't care about nothing. Yes, nothing else was in my mind than to find a way to be able to walk, to eat, to drink, to go back to my family. So that was a very big moment for me. I realized that whatever I put in my mind is going to have to listen and give me what I want.
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm grateful that you shared that. I'm sorry that you ended up in hospital from what sounds like stress. I'm not a doctor, so this is a layman's view of this, given what you've just said. I can empathize with you. I think sometimes we take things to that what's that, catastrophic thinking, and it has an impact on your body. Now, no one could say that you didn't have good cause for doing that, given that the nature of your work required to be in touch with the other human beings, and when things were being locked down, you couldn't do that. So I can understand it. I guess the lesson, if I'm hearing you right, is about understanding some of your own mental health maintenance and good positive thinking to keep you from getting to that point. Because if you can't keep down food and you end up hospitalized for a week and there's nothing physically wrong with you, then it's how do you deal with that level of stress? And I would suggest to you, again, without numbers here, that this probably happened more than what people are letting on during COVID, particularly in industries where you need to be out with other people. I lucked out in that I've been working from home for the last 10 years, and through COVID, I was still working from home. So all of the media around, hey, you got to work from home now and it's going to be different. I'm like, oh shit, I've been doing this for 10 years. This is no different. For me, it's just another day in the job. But for others, and this is in detriment to myself and a bit of selfishness in my own mind. I didn't at the time, I do now, but not at the time. I didn't really give a lot of thought to how is this impacting on people's mental health through this, and particularly leaders. So, as the leader of a business, in entrepreneur, starting your own business, and not being able to work in that for any length of time, or not knowing what the next month was going to bring, would have been bloody stressful. I can completely understand what. So, in to get yourself back into the groove of working, what did you need to do mentally to get yourself back into a more positive frame? And this is good advice for any leader watching this. So what did you do to help yourself out of that funk?
That one, I thank the universe for that thing that happened to me, because I that made me start something else. So the fact that I wasn't able to, that I went in the hospital, that I couldn't do the physical work, the fact that I was raised by, hey, you need to know many other things, not just one, because you never know when you start it, when you're going to need it, made me understand that it's time to start something else, because you never know when the physical world is going to collapse, and it's important to do something else. Maybe you remember from our conversation that I am a trainer in neuro-linguistic programming and instructor in hypnotherapy and trainer in a few other alternative things, therapies. So that was the moment when I started to apply the things that I knew from that, the things that I've learned just for myself at the start, because I wanted to know myself. But that was the moment when I realized that, hey, it's the moment to apply what I've learned. And I realized that it's not enough to just say, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. And imagining that by saying that everything is going to change. It's not enough. There are a lot of any other things that they are important to know when you say I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. Because if you say I'm healthy and you don't believe it, it's not going to happen anything.
No, 100%. It's nice to hear that out of some adversity for yourself, something better or something different came along. If I'm hearing you correctly, having multiple uh, skill sets in your leadership tool bag, if we're going to look at that, is critical to do other things. So I'm hearing you on that front. So and again, because I know you do the neuro linguistic programming, and you've met some people in your travels. What, and this is crystal ball gazing here, so I'm not necessarily after a right answer because I don't think there is one. But what do you see in the business world, let's say in the next 12 months, that you think is a challenge for either leaders or entrepreneurs that's coming that people might not necessarily be focusing on?
So what I noticed is that most of the leaders, they apply the things that they know. Yes, they are the rules. They are the step one, step two, step three, and this is what you need to do to be a better leader or to be the great leader, without taking in consideration the mind factor, without understanding that everyone has a model of the world. And when you are a leader and you want to send your message out there, and you imagine that everyone thinks like is going to think like you, and your model of the world is just the way the world has to be, then it's going to be a very big gap in the connection. This is what I noticed, that the mind, and these are the things that I've learned through my NLP, and that helped me in my leadership journey as well. To be able to understand the other person. And I'm not saying that being empathic is enough. It's not enough to be empathic. Is to the moment you start talking with people around you, but as a leader, you have to know your team. You have to know your team. You have to know your customers. And when you start talking to them, and if you as a leader, in 2-3 minutes, you understand the other person of the world, the other person model of the world, then you straight away you know how to communicate with the other person. And when you know that in your team, they are all of the people, they think in a different way, and you are able to communicate with them in their language, then you are on top of the game.
Yeah, that God, we could unpack that forever. The knowledge of self leadership, understanding you before you engage with others. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I guess the extension to the question that I asked around what might be coming is this something that leaders can do to prep themselves for understanding others as well as understanding self? Is this something that leaders need to get trained on? Is it something they could learn from others? How do you access that to develop yourself in a better way? Because and why I ask this is, and I'm forever seeing this on LinkedIn, is it going to a coach? Is it going to a trainer? Is it talking to your colleagues? Is it a combination of those things? What's the best way? If you had to prep me, what would you say to me about prepping yourself to get a better mindset for engaging with work? What would your advice be?
So yes, this is a very, very good question. What would, if I would be to advise you, not advise, suggest, not advise.
Suggest, advise, coach, mentor, whatever the word is. But what would you tell me about a possible way forward? Yeah.
Yes, having a coach is very, very important. Coach, mentor, whatever you want to name it. Having someone that know how to do it, it's vital. I think that everyone reads books, everyone watches YouTube videos. It's so much information there that it's like you know so many things that you don't know what direction to take. And it's important to have someone that is able to draw the map that you need. Not to make a plan, because you know the plan, you start making the plan, and till you finish, you need to start making the plan again. So, but when you draw the map, you know exactly what are the steps that are going to take you at the end of the journey. You know where you are in this moment, and maybe maybe you want to discover where you want to be. And between the where you are now and where you want to be, it's a bit of a gap that a coach, a trainer, a mentor can help you. And I found out the NLP, for me, it was the way. So even if I had all of the other knowledges, the accounting business, they weren't enough, because it was just the kind of the a business is like an iceberg, and what is the business is what is at the surface of the water. What is underneath is in fact the mind, and the way you have your mind is going to direct the way you are going to build your business, or to build your leadership, or to build your life. And through neuro-linguistic programming is the whatever is underneath the water.
I was just, as you were talking, I was just thinking the analogy of the iceberg is quite an interesting one, because what a lot of times what people will see in your leadership practice is what's at the surface. That's quite interesting. I'll be thinking about that now that you brought that up, 'cause I hadn't really given that a lot of thought. And look, from given that you've shared something, for me, I have had a lot of informal mentors in my time. I draw on the skill sets of my colleagues, of board members that I've worked for, to try and understand my own thinking. I might not agree with what they say, and they definitely might not agree with what I say, but it's more to get all of that thinking in a bubble and then sort of start picking out the things that might work for me. But I've never gone down the path of a coach or a trainer. Not that I'm not saying I don't need it. It's just something that's not been front of mind for my own practice. And as I get older, I'm thinking, maybe that's an avenue that I'm going to go down the rabbit hole at one point, to get someone who's completely that level of objectivity when they don't know you. They've got no skin in the game other than to help you get your thinking clearer. That's a very different proposition to when you're talking to a friend, a colleague, a mentor in the same industry. There's a personal connection there, and they want success for you, or for you to get over whatever the issue is. Whereas a coach, trainer, mentor that is not connected in that way, I think can keep you accountable in a very different way to someone that you might know. So I've never crossed that divide, but it's something worth considering. Look, Issabele, this has been really good. Thank you for your time. This has been great.
Thank you very much, Eric. It was a pleasure. I loved and enjoyed it.